Medin dia du kofi Crawford Africa make kwa branch aka Bidam kyerese ade mu GOB TV online ma me wa hwe bi wan TV a wa yo kodo ko hwe bi medical dada GOB TV don't you stay tuned forever. I'm up for all those Germany for other hits maker Africa Ghana and the whole world. Keep watching GOB TV and keep listening to GOB Radio. Big ups. Medin dia du kofi Crawford Africa make kwa branch aka Bidam kyerese ade mu GOB TV online.
Listening to GMB Radio in the heart of Reading Town, the station dedicated to the black community news, education and entertainment. Stay tuned.
Tumienu abo adeshimama mi mobibia kwaba ede ba GOB TV and radio enso emre aso se oman ene amahodo so nsema mensaka se enum ewia pemto be ka sebe mitumi ede ebesom ba bibia wo na otemenka enso etumi ede efri na ensem no edoso ne obetie ebi enso eni ene ye kopiem ewa asantemantemon mare ho sema yenseka enso ede free Dr. Mensa ho no HSN tipa truck bi ye no ye cargo car enso etimi atwa fa maba wa mienu bi eso a eno no ehun chiremu no betimi aba wakwam na ne ma nso etimi akonanim ede amaye na hwefo ene etiefo sas ne de ene be chirem ewo mfimfim mantemonum krobia ne din ene ankra krom na ankra krom no amane ba ye nseka enso HSN wo munsu wansu wo monom wo ho no enya de ese ya ahomeka kura eno so mun chiremu no nyina no ebetumi aba wakwam na ne ma akonanim ede amaye na hwefo ene etiefo nyina no ewo honom na enyina enim se Easter eda enim aye ba bedie nyankopon ba bewu na wasan asore na ne ma nso etimi akonanim pan de ama wi asifo nyina ene agidifo nyina ne sent ne ya na ekoduru sa na yetimi kopie mo kwawu na onya kopie mo kwawu a okura ne din ede obomi na obomi chief de atudwa wo chem sesesi ano eduru sa Easter celebration ye wo kwawu na omo mpentare basa enso ewo ho eno nso mu nkyeremu no ebetumi aba wakwem sanso na nei yebehwe se ne Ghana yensi di nekura no match dollar na ese match pound sterling any euro no na ho nsem nekura na akwa akosisei eno nso mu nkyeremu bigina betumi aba wakwem yebekwa kopie mu enso ewo bono na enya kopie mu obono ho no mpa sesi amane ba yenseka enso edi free bono kura ni din edi eduanya na eduanya ho no omanfo ho se masa network is nsem no enso etimi ha omo na yebesa abohwi ni akwa akotie latest update kura enso Russia ene Ukraine entokwa na ekokoso no den nsem ena efri mu enso eba eno nso mu nkyeremu nyina no ebetumi aba wakwem na nema etimi akonanim ede amaye na wefo ene ye natiefo nyina no enso ewo ho na kwache na de efesika no de ye kwanche enso ade efesika kroya ana wotimi de akoto na wetumi ade abafie nyume kobi adaroma ana omoso masne ama mede kase egbe enso etimi aba wakwem na ne movie fast pa enso etimi ade amen eye Breford Travel and Tour GOB Multimedia Lucien Phones and Accessories Genesis Fashion Designs and Boutique enso e can be Samsung Trust Clothing enso yasnibia enema etimi akonanim ama ye na wefo ene etiefo nyina no enso ewo ho na kase ebo benya bia hwenya bia tia fuani akiremu enso ewo GOB TV and radio Facebook no onsa betimi aka live and clear enso etumi de afro sans na onsa betimi aka pa enso ewo abefo tintanfidie enso www.gobtv.tv enso eso na ne ma akonanim enso etimi de amaye na wefo ene atiefo nyina no ewo honum na kase enso etwago ewo tuni na no eye GOB radio na ne ma akonanim pa enso etumi de amaye na wefo ene atiefo nyina no enso ewo ho na midin no ene ba Oheneba Appiah Kubi wo frame na asai pe metumi age usuye me na ne maje pre ede kase ni nkyere mu nyina no etimi eba wakwem na ne ma akonanim ede amaye ye twa yan aba me ba pe me de kase ni nkyere mu nyina no ebetimi aba
wayo kodo ko hebi me di kanda dada
Don't you stay tuned forever. I'm out for all those German father that hate make Africa, Ghana, the whole world. Keep watching GOB TV and keep listening to GOB Radio. Big ups.
Within the Adu Kofi, Crawford after Major Branch, aka Pidam, Chesa Adi GOB TV online. Mammy, one big one TV. Why you? What do you heavy? Medicanda dada.
You are listening to GMD Radio in the heart of Reading Town, the station dedicated to the black community news, education and entertainment. Stay tuned.
Kase no enche mu nyina no en starti en free wakwan na ne ma so entimi konanim en fa maye na wefo ene atiefuo nyina no ewo ho na me de kase bo no ekwohya ase e de free o man konkron Ghana yensika sane esmi e ma chi dollar rate no enso ewo nkrofo aman so no sen kra na esmi ekọ ene unya kopiem ewo nkrofo aman so na kopiem enso ewo bra ya yesese sika sei na Ghana yen dollar no enso esmi ekọ Sesiano Ghana cedi no $2 rate no se okwa sesika di ha eno 6 cedis 30 pesos enso ho na se okwa akoto odi cedi ne kwa akoje dollar na 6.6004 na se to the nearest whole number no kame akwa se be 7 anisa enso ho sas na pound sterling no eno so etimi adru 8.8311 enso asesiano to the nearest whole number no eno so betimi aye 9 na niema etimi akona nim ede ama Ghana fo nyina no Africa ni euro na yeka euro na eno so yesika no okọ himali zikrom enso ni European countries na mutimi edie se no so de ba Ghana sika mu a 7.4179 na no so no senka ureti area aba nearest whole figure there anka no so betimi aye 4 na anase 7 na ho nsem no enso etimi aye kama ede ama nanso no kokokopie mu enso ewo nkrampumpuni mantamo no mpe sesia no ewo ba bia yesesa Ghana yezika no anaso bi dollar eba aba beji Ghana sika sidi na sesia no enkramontin bi su no ebi mu de dollar no to Ghana sidi no enso eje 7.5 na hunsem na ye kama pound so etimedi ame o micro Ghana ha pound sterling no okopie mu nkrampumpuni mantamo bi ya yesesa sika pound sterling to Ghana cedi no sesia no so ko 9.05 ya no enso ekosropa enso we wonsem no etimi akoyedeja ewo man konkono Ghana ha na se owe MPP aban no enso ene aban na ene se ne economic management ne ko Ghana yensidi no ade se depreciate pa depreciation aka no tia na etie ba for man wonsem no enso etimi akoyeburuja ewo man konkono Ghana ha na yanto akase ne so emfama mo yanto akase ebo ne so enfem free o man a eja eye friend kwawu ye nyina nim se Easter bosome no enso enche bia na etimi abepie mu enso o man konkono Ghana ha eni wiase afa na nyina o man fododo na nso betimi adi sa Easter afa shei e dia kai twedi ampo kwa me basayi adom wa bra yetimi kun no na wo sorry frɛ wufomu eye epo bosome adi yanimu be bosome mienu na aka ye no ewe yanimu a ye wese betimi adi Easter yi na ne ma nso etima konanim e dia ma o man konkono Ghana ni wiase afa na nyina no na enya koba sape eye Good Friday no ya ye James Kristo wanya ne efra wufomu na yetimi akunu enso ho no ni nyina no eni je ni nyina atimi kokko wiem enso ewo kwaw na ese kwa obi poso eno ewo bro no a ewo kowa ni din ene obome na obome man hene edi nse mebre na atuja wo chemse eya na ye ni jida ere ma kwa uman enso ewo Easter bremu ni nyina na akọ ese wono wa manone no etimi ebepie mu o man konkono Ghana o mo behwe no maje o mani ni nyina na ye se Yesu Kristo awu asori efra wu fom di nchida pa amagidi fuo nyina no ewo man konkono Ghana ni wiase afa na nyina no ewo ho ne sent na ya na be piem okowu a ene maboni na at times etimi ekoso eho nanso afi we de wo hye Ghana fo nyina bo ene kwawu man nyina bo se saa niema na ya na yetahu enso we yanis no enya de se bi be piem kura afi kura ne mabunu no mo ba munhye se mu ye decent pa montari je mu man nya akono enso we wonsem no kwawu man ne ya ne din enso ne nana efa opem nana efa ya ni din otosum yenu enso etime de nsem ni nyina no etuja na yenkotie nsem ne se ne osim ni tuja efai enti kwawu man hene nana efa otoso mienu ane ete ne nka ho de nsem awodo na etimi atuja ede ama man konkono Ghana titiru ni wona owo kwawu no ne ede ho nchemu nyina no enso etimi ede ama wo ewo ho na ye to akase ebo ne so ede amamu na yenkopie mu enso ewo mfimfin mantemo no yenya kopie mu mfimfin mantemo a amane ba yenseka enso etimi ede efiri wo no kyerese enei unya kopie mu hope kura ni din ene ankra krom omanfo ho esuso omunsu omonom no ensu entimi enye na sesia ne kame akoso omone mponche ene nkraman na sabio omunum nsuo baako ensu ewo ankra krom ya no ewo mfimfin mantem onom no ne senti no GOB news na ye ni tete ho pa yenkoni enkwati ensem no se ne esimi tudwa FI
Baba Sounds. I didn't forget why you wash it. Trako yet to Ababa. And so, oh, man, you. Then you may yourself. Then you may have one. Oh, it's whatever. You saw Quapo, a finish yet. Must be quite full. Be bad. Whatever I know, or mind you, no matter what. Let us have a sound. You ever had. And what you can see. Yapa on check, you would have read the machine. Eh? I tell you, eh? Osha, on my penny, or the side where did you? Yaba, I want to lay up a more. Come over. What I go for school. You should have read it. Go to look at you. I don't want to say, one of my mates. As I so be our end of her. Oh, so you will quabba, Opa, Passa. And Cramine and Ponching in the heaven. Yes, come on, you cry one way. Move a mic. Female and brother and grown Casaba Grana. I could have a consul, bear me some. Yama Rollins, Yamohi, Kufu, although my another qualifier, Nania will buy anything by the bar. Passa.
Etinune se ukoko kopiem ewo mfimfi mantem wo bro no anedin enso ani ankra krom amane ba yen se kan e de free ho ne de adan na hwefo ene atiefuo nyina no enso wo ehonsem no etimi akwa ya buburuja ere ama oman konkono Ghana na yentu ansem ne so emfa me na hwefo enso ene atiefuo ho na yentu aso emfa free kumase asante mantem onom no sesi akopie bro no anedin ene Dr. Mensa enso okrom wono ma eja sesi amane ba yen se kan no chese cargo truck bi enso etimi akwa afema ya mienu bi so a eje instrument mi anka bi ni nyina ya se wo feli break enso wa ewonsem no etimi de ja eye enrada ana sansem we enso etimi esi ye ho na yemfa ehonsem no enso etimi wa bra ya mane boni ani dia ni samsi kenya meche enso etimi kopiem wa ehonsem no enso etimi ekosei
and one day. Ramani, I found Mr. Abubakar was the MP, if you know, since your 50 years. Now, Uchika, a Kia railroad truck with registration number AS 4403-4. Now, Odi Summary, Northern Region Ever, not the American and Cassia, and the Echo, Lord of the Alaba. Free Alabarana over Dr. Mensa. We have Dr. Mensa on my bench, that's why I don't traffic light you on. If you want, and no to say, now they break the affiliate, or the back, or the back, or the ball. I yet to look at him. The number, registration number, not the AS 1668-21. A bar barrel, a 2 power, and my far, not for a woman. And the fact you look, I get a car, no 80 power, so, and over here, and ma, not almost jump, and now they are almost a car, no more age, and police for themselves, but when you put back so every 39 it's a one for more ankasa if you for so omuni and a political ebe fako kwapana to teach hospital wo mo ile kemfi you know ya asama embassy embassy so me see so I have Dr. Mensa
eti eja unya kopiemu enso ewo Dr. Mensa asante mantemo no ma amane boy ense ka enso etimadi free ho no ana yede amaye na wefo ene atiefuo nyina no wa ehun nsem no enso etimaye kama pa eden amaye ya ti patrol kunso etimatwi afa mabawa mienu so a eje shikura no wo mantumi ankan bi ewo wa ehun nsem na akoya arewosem ede gan ade ama Ghana fo nyina no ewo ho na yento ansem ne so yenkọ Russia man ni mu enso ni Ukraine man no entokwa esi ho na entokwa ne kra no den kra ne kofa baaye enso ewo ho na unya kopie mo Ukraine enso ene Russia amane baaye nse kan di free one se entokwa no etu onya ntwaye kra entokwa ne de kwa na ekoso enso ewo Ukraine man ni enso ene kra ne di ene Russia we president ani di ene Putin ya ono eye president ede ma Russia man no said in Sembebre na etimi atuja na yenkoti amane bono enso emfri CNN send ensem no esimi eko
announcement by President Putin that his nuclear forces are now on high alert. We don't actually know what that means because Russia's nuclear deterrence is always in a state of readiness. The US and other Western capitals trying to figure out what it is that President Putin exactly says that he is doing. I suspect that much as there is a war in Ukraine, this is part of a propaganda war, but it does have people worried, Andrea, because of this continuing concern that there could be a direct clash between Russia and NATO, an accidental clash that might drag NATO and the US into this conflict directly, and of course Russia and US being two nuclear powers. You'll know yourself, of course, Andrea, that at the UN the diplomatic talk is important to Russia because it wants its allies to be able to explain and support it. So those negotiations between Ukraine and Russia were brought up, for example, by the Chinese, who called for avoidance of escalation and welcomed the dialogue. I have to tell you, Andrea, that people I speak to here, including those with close contacts with the Kremlin, are fairly suspicious that those negotiations will lead anywhere. Andrea?
Well, especially if Putin still holds to his position and to the Lavrov position throughout all of their talks previously, conversations with President Biden and, of course, with Secretary Blinken. In Lavrov's case, to hold to their position that were non-negotiable, where NATO would have to change its whole posture in order to, and at this point, Ukraine would have to back down and turn over power to Vladimir Putin.
Well, that's exactly right. And, you know, one former Russian official with close contacts to the Kremlin described it, frankly, as Russia trolling Ukraine, pointed out that it is a former Russian culture minister who is leading that delegation, said, if you're really serious about negotiating, you wouldn't have a former culture minister as the person leading that delegation. But that just adds to the concerns that this situation in Ukraine is about to get worse, that Russia may be preparing more firepower. And Andrea, we talked about it last hour, just in the past few hours, the embassy here in Moscow telling US citizens they should consider departing Russia immediately via commercial options still available. That's as the European Union closes airspace to Russian flights. There is this sense, Andrea, of a new Iron Curtain going up around Russia. But of course, if President Putin has his back to the wall, that then makes people concerned about what he might do.
Etinani akoso enso ewo hono ani akwakofa de amawaisi ano wese ne nemesmiko enso Russia manimu eni Ukraine manimu a na Russia fo na ankasa no protest se omo empre ema omo president ani Putin Vander Min no enso entimi enkonkoko enso we hunsem no etimi aye beburuja enso we hunsem na ekonanim na papa no sin decision de obi na obetima invade enso we hunsem no ekonanim na no enaja US President and Joe Biden and Krama 1 hour no so 8 me or so one more now it's me in fro. Says here near opinion ding and sending former Secretary of Defense and so Barack Obama a pencil US minimum. Yes, you bet him now on Komakakra and so arms
to the Ukrainians so that they can put up an effective resistance. I think the fact that the Pentagon is reporting that Russian progress is not to the level that everybody assumed it would be is largely because the Ukrainians are putting up a fight and using the weapon systems that we provided. And I think it's important that we provide whatever help is necessary in order to establish an effective resistance within the Ukraine, because the longer that goes on, I think the weaker Putin will become. And part of the goal here has to be to make Putin not only pay a price, but to isolate him.
But we're also hearing from Secretary Austin, one of your successors, that the supply chain is a problem because getting more ammo, more fuel to Ukraine is becoming more difficult over land.
I understand that you know, we're dealing with a blockade. We're dealing with troops that are providing a difficult path to provide some of these armaments. But you know, we are the United States of America and NATO. We are unified. I think we need to try to provide ways to get these this military aid to the Ukrainians. And you know, this is a moment in time where we can't just simply sit back and hope for the best. We've got to do everything we can to try to make sure that this war in the Ukraine does not become just a total humanitarian disaster.
Secretary Panetta, should we have gotten more javelins to them, more of the anti-tank weaponry that they need, and more Stingers?
I think javelins are particularly important. Stingers are important. There are a number of weapons unity here to really send a message to Putin that he has made some very serious misjudgments here. He made a misjudgment with regards to the strength of the United States and NATO and the unity that we've shown. He's made misjudgments with regards to the Ukraine. I think he really thought that the Ukraine would collapse very quickly, and they have not. He's made misjudgments with regards to whether or not they have an effective force here that can totally dominate the Ukraine. This is a moment where I think we have the opportunity to try to make clear that Russia cannot just have its way, and that Russia is going to pay a very heavy price for what Putin has decided to do here. I think a lot of Russians are shocked by what Putin has done because they never anticipated that Putin, who's tried to move Russia into the 21st century in some ways, has made the decision to take Russia to war. I think we ought to do everything we can to try to penetrate that kind of anger that I think is taking place in Russia from St. Petersburg to Siberia, undermining the support.
The former secretary, our defense, war opinion and Barack Obama, a pension, and a jay quotidian and Lizem Kakra, who watches, I will say US minor, and say to me, and you obey a bia, Sabi obey to me a buenipa, your more Ukraine man, no mabwa. I'm a disaster now, air cosno, and so as let me about from Kakra, and so Ukraine, any Russia, mine more. And unti ano mobile some betim the ammunitions out one, a betim yakoma Ukraine for no, Nanya man said to me ako, Nabi Bibi ako kamapa. Aha and a brabama kwa America se boni nano, and so etimi SCA, Nanya Marco and a prefer travel and towards it to Quine, Netiaka watch nebi umpewe in upper day, low send phones and accessories, Genesis fashion designs and boutique no, and so I can't be a naked as a boy, etimi about wakem, trust clothing, as so ya snippy pa. Me sorry sooner you made the wet me at was Eddie Amay. Midia no Oheneba Appiah Kubi. What from an assay pet made to me a juicy pa. None a man said to me, Eddie Amay and I have for any a tear phone in an hour. Nyankopon ya adoma nwumre oni mi hia enso 6 o'clock news ne so no na yemfa de wo akire nyina no enso entimi enso mo makraw
Medin dia du kofi Crawford afre meje kwa branche aka Pidam kire say ade mu oduro GOB online mami wa fe 20
You are listening to GMB Radio in the heart of Reading Town, the station dedicated to the black community news, education and entertainment. Stay tuned.